So the end of the year is almost here, which means it's, we've got the retreat coming up in a couple weeks, which means it's time for strategic planning and kind of looking at what's going to happen for next year and getting all those things together. And so, strategic planning is always kind of this nebulous thing that people don't really understand what it is or what it involves, and it sounds like something important, and you know that we're supposed to do it, so you plan on doing it. And so I was kind of thinking about it the other day, and it really kind of compares to when it comes to kind of war and things like that countries go through. There's really a lot of similarities on how you prepare for that as opposed to prepare for the following year. And so when you've got when you kind of go to war, what makes up a war? So you may win but you lose the war.
Battles.
So you have battles that make up wars. Then what do you have to do to prepare for a battle? You make a battle
strategy plan.
Battle plan, right? Then what makes up a plan? What are the things that make a plan? Objectives. So objectives and tactics, right? Different tactics that make up that. So what do you think the parallels are when it comes to strategic planning? So what would be a parallel of a tactic? An action item, right? Because you have an action item of a goal, right? So you set out what's the goal that you're trying, what are you trying to accomplish, and what are the things that you need to do by when. Battles are different initiatives. So that's kind of the overarching strategy of something that you're trying to accomplish. And then, your war, as Jim Collins calls it, a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. I don't like that. So made up my own and I'll reuse the G. So it's a big goal, a bold, inspirational goal. It's something that's like you have to push yourself for, but it's something that's attainable. And so when it comes to these, it's if you think about from our perspective, what's potentially one of our big goals is to become the marketing company for all entrepreneurs that believe and value the things that we do. Regardless of geography, that we can go coast to coast, so that we can potentially be the marketing company of entrepreneurs, right? And so the different initiatives what would we have to do and focus on besides having fire trucks go by? So the different things that we would have to do in order to accomplish this goal. So if our bold inspirational goal was to be the marketing company for every entrepreneur that believes and values the things that we do, first off, they have to know about it. They have to know about us, right? So we'd have to have kind of an awareness initiative. Then we'd also have to have the ability to be able to handle them. So we'd have to build the capacity and build the efficiencies and build the effectiveness and all those things. So if you kind of come off those two things, what are the goals for awareness? So you have to first create an overall brand, kind of the brand direction and awareness and all those things that make up a marketing campaign. You have to generate enough content that's going to attract them, and then you have to have the overarching plan of the marketing plan of the things that go out there. And the same thing with building up capacity, clean house. You have to get more efficient. You have to do all those things, and then the tactics that come out of here. So all the brand, the direction, the website, the email. All of these things that keep going on and on and on. And when it comes down to if you ever want to have more than one big goal, it's got to be something that keeps it in alignment. So really, there's kind of one thing that goes above here even is, what typically causes wars? Why do countries typically go to war? Conflicts. Yeah, religion and oil, but it really comes down to beliefs, right? It's usually ideology. I believe I'm right, you believe you're right, we can't settle it, let's have a pissing contest, only with missiles. And so with an ideology, when it comes to a business, it really comes back to that purpose. And so down here, it's about being the champion of the everyday entrepreneur. So then if we wanted to have more than one big goal, I talked to some of you guys about kind of the school concept of creating a self-perpetuating entrepreneurial ecosystem. Then the school concept of creating the place where we can bring academic, the business, and the social side of entrepreneurship all together under one roof would be another really big goal. But, and so it would kind of come underneath here. But at the end of the day, it falls underneath one purpose. And so that's really the only way that you can focus on more than one thing is if you are trying to drive the same overarching purpose. And so, what ends up happening is you still have kind of this pyramid structure that you have one thing that drives another, that drives another, that drives another. And so when it comes to strategic planning, you really want to focus on identifying why you're doing what you do, and then what's something that is going to be inspirational to your team and to your the people that are working with you, and then start breaking it down into the smaller and smaller chunks in order to get to where you need to go. And so, we've been focusing a lot in the last couple lessons on different ways that kind of pyramid structure works. So we started out initially with, that when you're learning, you want to focus on building blocks on top of building blocks of how you learn and how you develop and all the things that you need to do from that perspective. So you remember that from way back in the day of pyramid versus tree growth. And then we talked about, after that we talked about the Poeberian theorem of the C squared, P squared, U squared, of the customers, cash, passionate promoters, and your USP, and making sure that, as you grow, that you're focusing on putting your assets in the right things and making sure that you're focused on maintaining a right triangle, which maximizes your area. And so last week we talked about magnetic marketing from the perspective of if you've got concentric circles of your people, pricing, positioning, personality, and purpose. So this is kind of your brand. And what happens if you look at that as a top view and make it three-dimensional, and then now kind of, instead of circles, you have squares. So if you take it from this perspective, so you've got people, you've got pricing, positioning, personality, purpose. So if you put those here, you can start to see how those kind of build on top of each other. And then now if you add kind of the last side here, from the perspective of, kind of what we talked about from a strategic planning perspective. So you've got your action items, your goals, your initiatives, your big goal, and then once again your purpose. You can see that here at the top you've got, everything comes from your purpose. And so what this all means is, so now we know the goal here is to make this a right angle at the top. And so it comes down to how you allocate your resources in both planning and when you're executing. So these are different strategies of how to build your business from a strategic planning perspective, from how you're going to go about your business with your customers, and then how you're going to focus your growth strategies, all while how you learn. And so really what it comes down to is if you focus in on allocating your resources and make it in alignment with your purpose, that's how you're going to get this right triangle at the top, your isosceles right triangle, which is going to maximize the size of your overall impact of your business, which is where the overarching goal of the whole purpose is try to maximize impact. And so you can see how, this is kind of kind of Kevin Spacey and Usual Suspects, he just he just started walking now. So you can kind of see how all the pieces start coming together. Now look backward and see how approaching your strategic planning with the purpose in mind and with how you're going to attack clients and how you're going to approach growth, when you're going into how you're going to attack next year and your 5-year plan and what it might be, keep in mind of how you're allocating your time and your resources is going to impact how the size of your triangle and the size of your pyramid is going to grow. And so this is where if you focus on those resources effectively, you can maximize growth.
So we got to keep purpose in mind and then come up with our big goal for the year and how many goals to reach it.
Yeah. So yeah, and really what it comes down to is setting. So you're going to have your 3 to 5 year plan, and you want to work backwards from that in order to make your 1-year plan. So when we talked about in our brand direction meeting last week, when we said, this magnetic marketing is our 3 to 5 year marketing strategy in order to only work with these clients, that's kind of in line with this. So now we need to work backwards and say, what do we need to do to make sure that we're only working with clients and with entrepreneurs that believe and value the things that we do. And so that would be one kind of example. And so then you have to kind of march it backwards to the point of what needs to be in place to do that.